Here on Channels 2 and 7, Calgary.
A young child's disturbing nightmares, the brutality of the war, the disappearance of a young woman, and a man's lifelong search come together to create a most unusual love story. An isolated English beach on a spring morning in 1920. Ralph Fitzjohn is out collecting driftwood when he's given an opportunity to save the life of a man who he soon discovers has violated the cardinal rule of both man and God. The stories you're about to see are real, using the actual names of the people involved. People who have pushed mind and body to the absolute limit, beyond the normal realm of experience. Each event is astonishing, unexplainable even. But the situations are authentic. The facts are documented. These are all strange but true stories. Mother's death in 1949 when she was a baby, Connie Webster has lived with her father and her aunt in Jackson, Michigan. While her home life is not unpleasant, Connie is often troubled by strange fears and dreams she doesn't comprehend. Neither Connie's aunt nor her father realize the intensity of the child's nightmares. Thinking them a bid for attention, they ignore her cries in the night. At times like these, Connie seeks out her Uncle Chris, who instinctively seems to know how to make her feel better.
I hear you had another one of those bad dreams.
Yeah, and a scary one, too.
I don't understand those dreams, but I know one thing. You have to learn to laugh at life, sweetheart. You do that, and life can never hurt you. Say, your birthday coming up, haven't you?
Yeah, so do you, Uncle Chris, on the same day as mine.
Yeah. Let's see, I'll be 51. That'd make you... My goodness, you're a young lady at 10.
What do you want for your birthday, Uncle Chris?
Honey, you're my birthday present. I said that to your mother when you were born, the same day as I was. I said you were my birthday present, but she forgot to give it to me. That's all right. We know, don't we? Eh?
Yeah.
That's our secret.
Okay.
Let's go get some lemonade. Step there.
But even Uncle Chris is unable to explain or take away the fear brought on by Connie's recurring nightmares. They're so frightening, so horrifyingly real, that she often fights sleep as long as she can.
Stay pretty for a long time.
But eventually, she must sleep. And inevitably, the dreams come. Images that haunt Connie during the night. Horrifying, frightening images. Each time, she seems to be in a foreign environment in terrible danger, unable to escape. Strange, unexplainable dreams for a little girl in rural Michigan to have. As often as possible, even during school term, Connie continues to visit with her Uncle Chris. She often takes her studies with her to his farmhouse, knowing that he'll make the drudgery of homework go faster. She's a bright student and enjoys all of her subjects but one.
What are you doing?
Want to check and see if my equation's right?
Oh, well, you know more about that than I do. When I went to school, they still took arithmetic. You know, so many oranges, so many apples, and you took them to market to sell them, and you sold so many each. How many did you have left? I don't know much about 7x equals 2y squared. Oh, there's something I know about, though. Geography.
No.
Yeah, is this what you're taking now? river systems of Russia.
No, I don't know anything about them.
Calm down, Connie, calm down.
I hate them. I hate them.
Oh.
The Russians, I hate them. I hate the Russians.
Now, calm down. Nothing. You don't have to do anything you don't want. You're my special girl. You remember that. There now.
At 19, Connie leaves her Michigan home for a visit with her older sister, Jean, on the West Coast. Jean has many activities planned for them, and the first few weeks pass quickly. Connie loves the West Coast, feeling instinctively it's the place for her to be. Long interested in psychic matters, Jean has made an appointment for a reading by an old friend who's an adept medium, Ed Monroe. Although Connie has little interest, Jean persuades her sister to go with her. Ed Monroe was not aware of his psychic abilities until only a few years ago. Plagued by a recurring stomach ailment, aggravated by the stress of his work, he found no medical relief until one of his doctors, interested in parapsychology, sensed untapped abilities in Ed. Through hypnosis, the doctor helped Ed develop these latent psychic powers in an effort to heal himself. And Ed has continued to expand on his sixth sense, but nothing in Ed Monroe's studies so far has prepared him for the shock he's about to experience.
You are looking great.
You always say the right thing. Oh, Ed, I want you to meet my sister, Connie. This is Ed Monroe.
It can't be. Margaret. Something amazing is happening. Extraordinary. I don't understand it, but I have to talk to Connie right now in my study, Jean.
I think we should. Okay. All right. I'll be in the living room.
Thanks.
Ed is about to tell Connie a story that will irrevocably change the rest of her life and his. In 1946, Ed Monroe was a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army, stationed in Zwickau, Germany. Shortly after arriving for his tour of duty, he met a young German woman, Margaret. It was love at first sight for both of them, and in spite of the regulation forbidding Army personnel to fraternize with the Germans, Margaret and Ed found ways to be together. The widow of a German pilot, Margaret had been a translator before the war, converting automotive manuals from German to English. Although the war and the subsequent occupation had torn her life apart, Margaret was a woman of tremendous spirit. With Ed and the love they had for one another, she was being offered another chance at happiness. They both knew they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. They talked of going to America when Ed's tour of duty was over, of getting married, of children someday. But they had all the time in the world, or so they thought. But fate was not to let them have their happiness for long. Ed's unit received sudden and secret orders to pull out of Zwickau. Heartbroken, Ed and Margaret said goodbye. They vowed their love for one another, as Ed promised to return for her as soon as he could. As soon as possible, Ed came back to find Margaret, but she had disappeared. He heard rumors that she had been arrested by the Russian occupation forces, interrogated, and later killed. Ed continued his futile search for over 2 years before returning to America. Even then, Ed Monroe never stopped hoping that someday he and Margaret would be reunited. Connie is stunned by Ed's story and by the similarity between herself and the photograph of Margaret taken almost 25 years ago when the two lovers were having a picnic on the shore of a German lake. Except for the old-fashioned style of her clothing, the photograph could easily be of Connie.
It said to me, "We'll meet again sometime, someplace." Next day we were gone.
Connie remembers her childhood dreams, the vicious dogs, the soldiers chasing her through the woods, and the terrifyingly cold and barren room with the man in a strange uniform shouting in a language she didn't understand. And her unreasoning fear and hatred of anything Russian. Suddenly, the terror of those early nightmares begins to make sense to Connie. Pieces of the puzzle are falling into place. Is Connie Webster the reincarnation of the German girl Margaret? Perhaps Margaret was right when she assured Ed their love would survive, that they would meet again someplace, sometime, and share their lives together. As he approached the rowing boat, Ralph knew by some seafaring instinct exactly what he'd find in it. It was a young man, barely alive. His name was Leonard Beaton, the only survivor of a wrecked whaling ship. This strange story was taken directly from Ralph Fitzjohn's meticulously kept diary. He made no moral judgments, only recorded the bizarre events as they happened. Ralph's fitness at the age of 70 was remarkable. But Leonard was a fellow sailor, and in that closed order of seamen, Ralph's instinct was to use all his power to save a brother's life, no matter how pointless the task seemed on that morning.
Well, you're worth a try, matey. Though by God, I don't give much for your chances.
Ralph knew exactly how to haul a man back from near death. After all, he'd been in the same position himself several times during his own life. For some reason, the young seaman's plight reminded Ralph of a particular story he had read long ago. He read it once more as he sat watch.
So, you're with us, mate.
Alive.
And I got something horrible for you to drink, boy. Not now. Bit at a time. Then water, then victuals. You'll make it. Well, of course you're hungry, mate. But if I start ramming food down your gizzard, guts won't take it.
But it wasn't food that Leonard was calling for.
Oh, I get you. That oilskin bag. It's in the boat. It'll wait.
Please.
Personal, was it? Right out, mate, right out. I'll fetch it. I'll fetch it.
Ralph had made a pretty shrewd guess as to what the oilskin bag contained. And his hunch proved right. No wonder the bag was so important to Leonard.
Dreaming, fella? Yeah. I got it.
Three days later, Leonard Beaton was in remarkable shape, thanks to the man who saved him. But to be alive is one thing. To have a clear conscience is another. The contents of the oilskin bag continued to haunt him.
When was it?
Scooped you up 4 days ago. You've come on quick, matey.
Leonard knew that Ralph Fitzjohn had guessed his secret.
You seen?
I see.
I never killed him.
But
I ain't
Leonard
got-
had survived
I ain't no-
after the other sailor died
Dead.
by eating human flesh.
killed him.
Save your strength, fella, till you're all sewed up.
Good picking.
Yeah.
What date is it?
18 May.
That makes it more than 6 weeks I was drifting around out there.
That when she went down?
Aye, whaler.
Whaling. Well, that is something I'll hold again you.
She just broke up like someone put a charge to her. Next I knew we were in the sea. Me and the boy. Him weeping and screaming. Nice kid. Christian boy.
You and me, we get something straight, fella. Absolution ain't my ticket. You done what you done. You live with it.
All you do is read.
That's 'cause I ain't unschooled. Not like you.
What's so special about reading?
You wouldn't want to know, fella. This year's what they call a novel. Old fairy tale, really. Things what never happened. And yet, right back at the start, it tells of this boy, just like you, washed up in these parts 50 years ago. Fella sounds like you, by God he does. And he done the same as you.
What was the boy's name? One who died.
Richard Parker, says this year fairy tale.
Well, that's where your reading and me part company. The lad I ate were plain John Smith.
And that there's his heart.
Nearest thing to his soul, I guessed. Tonight, I'll go to the graveyard. Bury it. Respectful. Come with us.
Long walk nearest church.
How far?
2 miles. Black Rock Lee.
Black Rock.
2 miles.
Black Rock.
What's bothering you?
Leonard was shocked to hear that the nearest church was at Black Rock Lee, the same little village that the sailor boy John Smith had called home.
Me for a fool for asking. Thought I was trying to give him hope, see? Black Rock. On a hill. Greystone Chapel. Oyster beds.
Could be a dozen villages on this coast.
You reckon he said Black Rock?
So he comes home. Ain't that how it should be?
What about his family? Brothers? Sisters?
Boy, you done something no creature on God's earth would blame you for. Only you know if you killed him or not. And your reckoning with the angels depends on that. Not on what you did to his body when he didn't need it no more. But don't you go telling folk. Not around here. Not anywhere. You let folk think he died out there. Good stuff for the sea.
That the spirit of John Smith should return to his native village to rest came as no surprise to Ralph Fitzjohn, the old trawlerman. And in time, the young man he'd hauled back from death came to see this strange coincidence as a blessing rather than the damnation of his own soul. What you've just seen are only 2 of the incredible but fully authenticated stories to be featured on Strange But True. Stories so unlikely, so baffling as to seem unbelievable. Yet they're all absolutely documented, the people are real, and every fact is verified. Strange But True. Please join us again.
Later tonight, a lonely spinster gets a surprise visit from an escaped convict who she's secretly been corresponding with for 2 years on Alfred Hitchcock Presents, right after Sports at 11. Stay with us now for 2 and 7 News First, next.
We're watching the